Hey, you, anything happens to my daughter, I got a 45 and a podcast. I doubt anyone would miss you because Clueless is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Sevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and it's not myself. It is not Tommy. It is our guest upstairs, Steve.
Wow, guys, I never thought you'd have a whole podcast revolved around just me.
Oh,
I must be real special around here.
your gosh tootin' rootin' special, that's for sure. It's
Well, I hope that you guys all have a hoot and a holler listening to this one because we're talking about Clueless
th
with our friend Tom Tavenay.
I feel
Yeah,
like I'm surprised when you said you hadn't seen Clueless. I was surprised because I think Tommy and I for years have been like going back and forth. If we went through our text chain, it would just be like, "Have you seen Clueless?" And it was just yes. And then like a year later, "Have you seen Clueless?"
Well,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Tommy's a huge enthusiast of retro chick flicks, but unfortunately, I have this thing called a penis, so I was never subjected into Clueless in my early adolescence. But
Yeah,
Tommy loved this movie. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, this fucking movie is lightning in a bottle, and I'm very
yeah.
excited to talk about it. And I've been very excited to talk about it, even through Tommy. I've been texting him. He's like, "We're doing this immediately." Like you haven't
Yeah,
seen I was like throwing what was the movie that we were entertaining the idea of like throwing around having me on like most recently. First of all, we still
we've
haven't
been talking about
seen.
True Romance for
We
like
still
a
have to do
fucking
Yeah,
true. We
month.
still have to do True Romance. That
that
might be.
was that
That's
was
it.
three podcasts ago now at this point.
I
So
want to do. I do want to do True Romance. We will cover True
We will
Romance
we
get that.
will.
podcast
It's
this year.
shocking. It's shocking, Steve, that you've never seen Clueless because of all my friends, you're the biggest ska head of anyone I know. You're the biggest '90s head in general. You love
Very
'90s
much
like
so.
music culture, movies in general. So when you said you
Even
hadn't watched
now, I'm wearing
Clueless,
an Oasis shirt.
yeah. So literally, like I was like, oh, the all the like '90s people I know, like how upstairs Steve never seen Clueless. And when you told me that, I was like, fuck yeah, because Timmy and I were talking like a week or two ago. Like, have you seen Clueless? And I was like, yeah, yeah. And then I was like, let me see if upstairs Steve has seen this.
You
Steve
just
hasn't. I fell into
sometimes.
that loophole.
Yeah.
Sometimes Tommy throws the backdoor slider and he just gets it over the plate, and bringing upstairs Steve in for Clueless is perfect. And it was
Mhm.
inspired because Tommy and I last week went and saw Clueless in the theaters for its 30th anniversary. Which for me, like I'd seen the movie a couple times before, but it like
Mhm.
played so much differently in a movie theater. Like
Hmm.
just so many laughs, so much. It's
Yeah,
so much like fun
It's
being in there.
it's
there's a
kind
lot
of
of
like
subtle
stand up.
jokes,
Yeah.
like like when you watch it in a setting like a movie theater. I had the same thing happen to me. I saw Animal House in theaters with Blake, and I would laugh at every little fucking thing. I've watched this movie every single fucking as much as I can when it's on, and just like all the like subtle jokes where anybody who's seen it 20 times got a laugh, and it kind of became contagious. Then the whole theater
Mhm.
started laughing. And,
It's
and
kind of like
I
stand
can
up
imagine it
comedy.
came. Yeah,
Like when you
it creates that environment, right? Like,
Yeah, if you see a stand up comedian, like he is 10 times funnier like in person than he is when watching his special or like his
right.
or her special. So it's same thing with Clueless. We're like just like Tim was saying, like I've seen this movie like a handful of times over the years, and just seeing it with like some friends. I saw two friends that never saw it before too, and it killed, it murdered. It was so
Now,
much fun of a crowd.
that's interesting that like that's the genesis behind it was you guys seeing it in the theater. I thought that it was something a little different. Tommy, if you want to go into your playlist, you know,
Yeah.
little
So
caper that you've been
we'll
doing
touch
here.
upon this a little bit more, but so when
I
I
think you
saw
should include the link, by the way.
yeah,
This needs to end in you including the link in the bio. So I just
exactly.
need you to plug that.
We're a
Just
link.
so
We're
you
a
know.
So
link in bio podcast now.
We're
yeah,
a
yeah,
link in bio podcast now.
we're gonna be
Trust me, it'll
for
get
this.
views.
For this
Well,
specifically. So when I saw Clueless in theaters last week, I was like, this soundtrack is awesome. This soundtrack rips. This is so much great 90s-ness. So
wait,
I got
Tommy, I don't want
inspired.
Tommy, I don't want to interrupt you. Tim, do you know this or no?
No, I don't. I'm
Oh,
reading
this
off
is great.
you.
I'm
This
so
is
happy
amazing.
you don't know.
So
This is
I
amazing.
decided to go like full tilt. I made a 90s teen movie themed podcast, not podcast, playlist called and I called it Cher Horowitz Summer Jams. And the picture's like Cher Horowitz when she's driving and like she like looks back, she's like, oh. And so we pretty much like Upstairs Steve helped me with this playlist because I was like, if there's anyone that can help me with a 90s playlist, it's Upstairs Steve. I think that's how I asked you, have you seen Clueless? And you're like,
I think
no,
that, yeah,
never.
I think this is kind of how it got like introduced because he's
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I'm making a '90s Clueless playlist," and I responded to him with, "I've never seen Clueless, but I don't know, so I don't know how much help I'll be." And he was just like, "Bro, we're doing Clueless on the podcast next week, but you
yeah.
can still definitely help me with this playlist." So in a sense,
So
and I'm like, "All right, what do you need?" And like, it just kind of ended with him being like, I just need 90s hits that you think like, a teenage girl would like back in like, the mid to late 90s. And I'm like, dude,
exactly.
I'm like, say less, fam. I was hitting them with like all these 90s one hit wonders, like everything.
We
I'm
we
like,
got some great ones. We got like She's So High. We got like songs from like She's All That in there, like the Kiss
Of course,
Me
you have she's
from
all that and that.
yeah, yeah, which we covered
and
on the
but
pod
like
before. And
any
we
time that like I'd send Tommy a song, I'd send it with like a little caption that was like, I guarantee you heard this song, but you never knew the name of the artist. And
there's
then
some
he'd
that
be
like
like, holy shit, yeah.
yeah, there's something like the Roll Tide, Baby, Come to Me or something like that. Like
Yep.
songs like that. And like so many great stuff. Like this is at this point, I think a 70 song playlist. Upstairs Steve gotten to, and I to the point where like I think this is a 6 hour playlist in total. And
Yeah,
I've been playing it nonstop over the Fourth of
it's at
July
least
weekend.
7 hours. It's at least 7 hours. It's
Well,
Yeah.
we
intense.
got to share this with the people. Girly Bopper playlist. Is this, 'cause Tommy? I know you're a weirdo that uses Apple Music, correct?
Well, yeah,
Yes,
I have an Apple
and
Music, but
I'm a joint collaborator on the Spotify one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I
Oh,
made it
so
on
we have
Spotify too.
Spotify. We have Spotify, and okay, great, perfect.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
joint collaborator on Spotify, Apple Music, because I'm not one of those guys. But
So yeah, if you're a 90s teen movie fan, like I picked songs from like a 90s teen movie such as like Scream, Can't Hardly Wait, I Know What You Did Last Summer, She's All That. I'm trying to think of other ones I pulled from. I think even like the Josie and the Pussycat soundtrack, which
Tommy's trying to plug
technically
his side hustle here, is what's going on right now.
yeah, exactly.
Tommy
So
gets a quarter of a penny every time you click that link. I don't.
Yeah.
The podcast doesn't receive any of the residuals.
Absolutely none. This is
yeah.
actually mostly for clout. Now, I don't think Tommy gets zero. I think the
He gets
artist
zero.
gets a quarter of a penny.
Yeah, he
I
gets.
So
think Tommy gets
but
$0,
It was a
yeah,
joke.
but
I
he
get
gets
Yeah.
that clout.
I get that
That that,
cloud. So
that's what we're after here.
but when I was like watching this movie and like the Mighty Mighty Boston scene happens where they perform, I was like, how's Upstairs Steve never seen this movie before? Because like right there, that's like right your alley. Because I think you've seen the Boston's live too.
I've seen them twice live, and that's
Of
where
course you have.
yes, I saw them once at Toad's Place, and I saw them again at a ska festival where they were headlining
Of
called
course
the
you went to a
Crank.
ska festival.
Shut the fuck up! It was called the Crankin' and Skankin' Festival, and it was one of the best times I ever had. It was so much fun. Toots and the
It's amazing.
Maytals went on before him.
I
R.I.P.
mean,
Toots.
yeah, I can't talk too much shit because I've seen Less Than Jake live and shit like that. So
Oh, stop it.
I'm right
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
like I haven't seen them live 3 times. All right, Tommy. Like you're gonna sit here and you're gonna try to embarrass yourself to make me feel better. I am Mr. Ska. Oh, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Poor
So yeah.
Timmy. All right, Timmy. Do you want to kick off this podcast? You want to play the commercial or whatever you
No,
have?
no, we got to still cover what we've seen recently. I have a big one I wanted to
Oh,
share.
that's right. That's a whole segment.
That
What
is
am
a
I
whole
even
segment.
Welcome
saying?
back to the podcast. You've guessed it on 6 times or 7 times.
What's the movie you
Dude.
watched recently?
Oh, what's a movie I watched recently? Tommy, go
Uh,
first.
All
Tommy, go.
right. So I guess it ties into the 90s teen movie, but over the weekend I rewatched I Know What You Did Last Summer. And we were thinking of covering it on the pod, but then Tim was like, no, fuck watching another horror movie. So this is my corner to
I'm
come in
not
right
doing
here.
a horror movie for a remake that's coming out into theaters that's going to flop horribly.
It's a requel where they're bringing back Jennifer Love Hewitt, and it's just like who gives a shit
Yeah,
at this
so
point?
it's the ultimate who cares of a movie. And
It's like Jeff.
Tommy has been pushing for it for like 2 months, and I'm just like, no, you already pushed too much horror on me last month. Like,
Yeah.
we're not doing it.
So,
Mm.
but anyways, so this is a movie that like I've seen multiple times over the years. And I realized when I was looking at my Letterbox ranking that every single time I watch this, I rank it differently on Letterbox. So like first time it was like 2 stars. Then I watched it really drunk with friends like a couple months ago, and I was like 3.5 stars. This movie's so much fun. This rocks. I watched it mostly sober over the weekend, and I was like, that's mediocre. It's fine. So it's like one of the definitions of a movie that like you need to be in the right environment. You need to be in the right angle. It's fun 90s pulp. It's written by the same guy that wrote Scream. And it's a movie that has no business having the great cinematography that it does in it. Like great sweeping shots of like a North Carolina coastal town. And it's a movie I remember like watching on like ABC Family when I was like growing up and like on Halloween, be like, oh my God, the hook killer fisherman. But the plot's convoluted. Jennifer Love Hewitt's fine. She has that one scene of Steve. Have you seen this movie?
No.
So I know what you did last summer has one scene where Jennifer Love Hewitt just screams in a circle over a crane shot. That's this has been parodied to death in like Scary Movie and other shit. So it's just 90s pulp cheese. Sarah Michelle Gellar's in the cast.
Oh, okay.
Johnny Galecki from Big Bang
Let me
Theory
see.
plays a jock in it, which is a hilarious reversal of his
It's
usual
very
Okay.
fucking
funny that
nerdy
he would
role.
play a jock because he's like 5'6". Like, how does a
Yeah,
5'6" guy
he
ever
plays
play
like a
a jock?
He's a short
twerpy.
king.
He plays like a
Short
twerpy
king.
jock. He's like, "Oh, you think you're hot shit, guys?" It's like, what the fuck, Johnny Galecki, get the fuck out of here. So it's a fun movie to watch if you're decently drunk with friends, but I don't think I would recommend it outside of that
And you wanted to cover it on this podcast.
because I
I
probably would
was
have gotten
very
drunk and
hesitant to even say that I hadn't seen it when Tommy asked just now.
You had
And I know
we
how
already
he
got
is.
this
I mean, you
shot
know
down.
this. Yeah. I'm like, I want to give this guy any ideas. We still have to true romance. God damn it. Anyway,
so
Yeah,
I found my movie. It was you ever see 25th Hour? It's
no.
a
no,
it's a oh,
I don't
we
even know
should
if I
cover
know
this one.
this.
It's a Spike Lee joint.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
Um,
this. Yeah,
so Ed Norton's the main character. He's about to go away to prison for fucking massive crime that more or less drug embezzlement that like he sat on for a little bit, and the DEA kind of came in and help me out here. Who's the guy on the wire? Who's the DEA guy who always says shit just like that?
Is that Idris Elba?
Yeah, probably. I don't know his name, but
I've never
I'm
watched
just
I've never seen The Wire, so
but
yeah,
like
you're asking the
basically
wrong two people.
sorry. Well, anyways, he more or less reprises his role that's in The Wire in this movie, and it's hysterical. Fucking Patton Oswald's in it, or no, Patton Oswald. What the fuck am I saying? Not even close to Patton Oswalt.
Are you talking about Isaiah Whitlock Jr.
No, I'm
from
not.
the no,
I'm
from the
not.
Wire? From the Wire.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was the name I was thinking of. Not even
No, but
close
I
to
said
Patton
Isaiah.
Oswalt.
I said
He's in the
Isaiah
movie.
Whitlock
He's great.
Jr. Speaking of Patton Oswalt poster right there, but Isaiah Whitlock
Yeah.
Jr. He was the guy from The Wire that you're talking of.
Oh no. I was just listing other actors in the movie. Really good movie. It's more or less like his last night before he goes to jail. Edward Norton's the main character. Really, really good movie. Covers a lot
Mm.
of like, sort of like, that New York like Irish crime family bullshit and like, his like, trials and tribulations leading up to like, the moments before he has to go to jail and face time. Like he got convicted of like, a big robbery or whatever it was. But I really enjoyed it. So that would be my most recent movie.
The legacy of that movie, from what I know of it, like pop culture osmosis, is that like it was filmed like in 2002, and it was in the planning stages before 9/11, and then Spike Lee decided to incorporate that movie
Yeah,
into his
no, there's
story.
a lot of 9/11 undertones in this movie. It's
Mm.
massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's still good nonetheless. It's almost a period piece when you think about it that way. Like, when
Mm.
you think about it, like they make so many references to just like, we're on a war soon, and like, there's scenes like at Ground Zero by the cleanup site and shit like that. There's a lot of like cap that mood in New York at that time. You know what I mean? Like you could argue. I mean, like it's weird because like we lived through it, but like you could argue that that is kind of a period piece. Like
Mm.
this day and age. But
Yeah.
Crazy movie
Gen Z, it's a
nonetheless. It's
period
really good.
piece. I watched the ultimate 90s pulp movie. Does anyone know what I'm referring to?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. It's the first time I've watched it in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's a movie that I think I like overrated in my head, and then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, it's the greatest movie ever made.
Mm.
It's up there. It's easily in my top three.
It's one of those
Um,
movies you rewatch it.
Maybe
Every scene
maybe top five.
is a rewatchable. Like
yeah,
every scene is so good. The performances are so great. It's got this like the soundtrack is incredible. And like it's so like essential to the 90s and like what it lay forth. Like
Yeah.
every movie from the like from that point onwards tried to be Pulp Fiction, and it's like postmodern elements and taking that, and it really changed the stratosphere of where media as a whole was going to go. Because if you think of something
Mm.
like think of TV, like Community, Rick and Morty, like all these like meta-referential shows, like that's all Pulp Fiction influence right there. And it's something
Absolutely.
that you don't
it's
Absolutely.
necessarily think of, but it's there. And just rewatch. I
Totally.
just wanted to touch on it because it's one of those movies that I think would be very, 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 very difficult for us to find a guest to cover this
Mm.
movie on because
I think it'd be easier for us to find than someone that hasn't seen Jurassic Park, which we've covered. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, when you
but
put it in that perspective, sure. But I mean,
yeah,
I just
but
want to reserve my spot now. If you actually end up doing a podcast with Pulp Fiction on it, please let me know.
yeah,
Because
we'll do
you're talking to a
it.
guy who's had a bad motherfucker wallet from the ages of 16 to 27, 28.
You got rid of
Is when I,
it?
yeah, no, I have a Burberry wallet now, man. I grew up. Like, so
Oh.
I realize that I need to, like, not do
Steve's got that money now.
Yeah, yeah, he
that.
can't have the pop culture movie wallet.
And speaking
It's one
of
of
and
I
speaking of
use it as a
money,
conversation piece in my sales
Yeah.
pitches. But
Well, it's interesting about this movie, Pulp Fiction, that like with John Travolta, how much is talked about like the career comeback and everything like that. But it's
mm,
always talked about how like John Travolta at the time was like, yeah, people act like he was like in direct to DVD, like bullshit, like direct to video, and like was like couldn't get arrested. But at the time, and this ties into Clueless, he was in some movies directed by Amy Heckerling, director of Clueless himself. There are massive hits called "Look Who's Talking" and "Look Who's Talking Too," the fucking talking baby movie of Bruce Willis, which I've
yeah,
rewatched recently.
but you just don't take somebody from a talking baby movie and give them Pulp Fiction. That's just not how you
Yeah,
mm,
I mean, it's one of those things that, and again, this ties into Clueless. Where like same thing with John Travolta and Amy Heckerling. We're like, yeah, Look Who's Talking was a massive hit, like an insane hit. There's a movie where the premise I watched it recently. It's basically that Kirstie Alley has a baby, and then the baby, the whole entire movie, inner monologue is Bruce Willis just saying shit. Where like he sees like a pair of boobs, and he's like, oh, I didn't know those come in jumbo size and shit like that. And that's the whole movie. And this movie grossed something like $300 million at the time in 1990. And it
no
was like a
shit.
rom-com with Kirstie Alley and John Travolta. And Amy Heckerling directed that. She based it off her own experience. And then once she directed that movie, she was like, "All right, this and the sequel." She's like, "This is not creatively fulfilling. I'm known as the woman who directed the Talking Baby movie. I need to direct something that is a little more hip." And that's where Clueless came into play.
So speaking of, this is Clueless.
Paramount Pictures presents a story about life,
Oops, my bad.
liberty,
Ew, get off of me. I've itched.
and the pursuit of accessories.
Shopping with Dr. Seuss? Well, at least I wouldn't skin a collie to make my backpack. Whoa.
Alicia Silverstone,
He does dress better than I do. What would I bring to the relationship?
Clueless,
Are you okay? I'm fine.
rated PG-13, starts Wednesday, July 19th.
So
Rob Schneider, derpy derp. No, I'm kidding. Where did you find that ad?
I found it on YouTube where I find all of my ads. Clueless is a 1995 American coming-of-age teen comedy film written and directed by Amy Heckerling, starring Alicia Silverstone. It's a loose adaptation of Jane Austen's 1815 novel Emma, centering around a beautiful, popular, wealthy high school student who wants to do good deeds. She becomes she befriends a newcomer and decides to give her a makeover while playing matchmaker for her teachers and examining her own existence. This is this the ultimate 90s girl movie?
Yeah,
I'd
and
say
I
so.
think ultimate '90s teen movie too. I'd say.
It's got to be up there.
I was thinking about this when watching it, and like when it was sitting in my head for a little bit, that this really revitalized the teen genre for the '90s, because we have the '80s where we have your John Hughes movies, you have like Valley Girls, stuff like that, your
Speaking
Breakfast
of speaking
Clubs.
of speaking of teens movies from the 80s, you have Fast Times, Amy Heckerling.
Yeah, also
Yes.
Fast Times, Amy Heckerling, she directed that
He's
too.
personal
She
favorite, man. I
she
love that
directed two
movie.
classic teen movies. But anyways, so the '80s happened and all that happens, and those movies are great and they're iconic. But then it felt like there's a little follow up here, and I was trying to do some research, and like from like '90 to '95, there was no like teen movies that really hit. There's Days to Confused, but Days to Confused was not a hit at the box office. That was a cult favorite.
It's a cult
And
favorite that grew.
yeah, and also it's
Mhm.
a movie that takes place in the '70s, so it's not technically a '90s teen movie, if you know what I mean. So when we get into Clueless '95, there really hasn't been like a this generation's teen movie at this point. And Clueless happens, it hits $88 million, creates a TV series, and then I think it just spirals into the next 5 years of Hollywood, where like if it wasn't for Clueless, we wouldn't have gotten things like Can't Hardly Wait, we wouldn't have gotten She's All That, we wouldn't have gotten
American Pie.
American Pie, 10
You,
Things I Hate About
absolutely
You.
not. You wouldn't have gotten American Pie. This is
You
American. This is pre-American Pie written all over it. And that.
exactly.
But the thing is that they're like, how do we cater this to like more of the male audience? You know what I
Mm.
mean?
And
But it's the same exact playbook. When you look at the screenplay of this movie versus any American Pie movie, or any 2000s on teen movie, it's this playbook with different characters.
Yeah, but
exactly. So this it's created a template, this
follows the
created a
playbook,
formula.
but this screenplay is like I love American Pie, like quintessential turning 13-year-old like viewing experience. But
Mm.
like Clueless's screenplay is tenfold over American Pie in my estimation.
Oh,
Oh
easily.
yeah,
And it's I was trying to think though. I feel like the teen movie is now like not in vogue again. Like if anything, these movies are like straight to Netflix, straight to like Amazon. And I can't think of like a really popular like
There
teen
hasn't been
movie.
one in 15, 20 years.
There was that one that came
I
out a few years ago, like
There's
what was the one where like
blockers.
the Fight Club one?
There's
Uh,
blockers. There was in like 2018. Bottoms came out, but it didn't do great at the box office. The one with
yeah.
Marshall Lynch in it.
closest
Um,
thing I can think of is Project X. When did that come out?
that
That
was
was 10, that was 12 years ago.
that
So,
was like
you know,
10
Yeah,
years ago.
and so I mean like I feel like it's again now just not in vogue. And like if Clueless came out today, would this even be a theatrical release or would it be straight to streaming? So,
Well,
probably straight to streaming. But I mean, listen, like you get a cast like this one. I mean, like, listen, like Paul Rudd really wasn't anybody at this time,
no, he was
but
he was in a Nintendo commercial.
this
That's
was his first movie, and this year he was in this and Halloween 6, which I haven't seen. That means something from a horror guy. I heard it's
whoa,
trash.
time
And
out.
that
Can you say that one more time for the viewers who listen to us every week, all 12 of you?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Whoa, we have more than
yeah.
that.
We have more than that.
I'm kidding. Tommy
Yeah.
has never seen a Halloween movie.
Yeah. Because some of the later day Halloween sequels
Wow.
just are just the trash of the trash. Were like it was like barely a step above a theatrical like direct to DVD movie. But anyways, yeah, Paul Rudd was not really known. Alicia Silverstone, what's crazy about her, I was telling Steve about this. She was known and she was very popular for being in the Aerosmith music videos in the early '90s. That was like how she got her
She
start.
was like 15, 16 at the like she's like 19 when they're filming this.
Yeah, but like think about how crazy it is. Like, can you imagine in today's culture if like someone said like, "Yeah, this actress, she's red hot because she was in 3 music videos from a band from 20 years ago."
That's what's the difference then this actress, she's really hot from 4 viral TikToks. Like what's the
I,
difference?
I I guess yeah, because yeah, when Alicia Silverstone, it was Crying, Amazing, and Crazy. Those are the 3 Aerosmith music videos, and this is a day when MTV was still red hot, still popular. So like, it really helped. This movie was also bought by Paramount, because basically what happened was Amy Heckling thought of this idea. and she thought this was going to be a TV show at first, and she was going to develop it as a TV show. Then her agent said, "This is not a TV show. This is a movie. You should do this as a movie. Like this is going to be red hot. This is going to be
Wow.
fucking great." And it basically spiraled out from there until the point where like she made this into a movie. It became a hit, and like basically no one wanted this movie at first because people thought like, oh, the teen market's not there, the female market's not there, movies about dumb audiences aren't there. Like, what are we doing here? We don't need this. And then Scott Rudin, who's a super producer, he produced like The Firm and some other like great movies from the '90s. He got involved, and this started a bidding war. And Paramount won the bidding war, and that was the perfect landing spot for this movie because Paramount owned MTV and Nickelodeon, the two perfect channels for the market this fucking movie. So
Yeah.
just right there, like the premiere of this movie was at MTV Malibu Beach House, which is wild to think about. We're like, yeah, like, oh, we're gonna do it right here, and like it immediately got to your teen audience. And I think this is like the pinnacle of '90s teen movies, and probably one of the best ones, easily.
I think you could
Yeah.
argue the best one.
Yeah,
Alicia Silverstone, is it the is it the greatest comedic performance of all time?
it's
Of
definitely
all
up there.
time.
Of all
for
time.
for
Of all of comedic performances ever to exist in the world.
Of all comedic performances that have ever existed in a film.
now. This
All
is
right.
a hot
I'm gonna
take
let,
that I'm here for.
I didn't state it as a take. I'm asking the question.
I'd say, especially
Tommy needs to answer that first.
You're throwing the
I
take label on me. I'm asking the questions.
all right. So I'm gonna say it's definitely, especially for the teen genre, I'd say it's up there. I think it's just like such a great comedic performance. Even like the little things of how she mispronounces words, like when she mispronounced Haitians, when she's like telling the speech,
Yes.
ATM.
and
That's one of those
apparently,
things where I almost felt smarter because I like corrected it in my brain as I'm watching it. I'm like, no, she mutations.
apparently that was a complete mistake that she just did not know how to pronounce the word. And one of the
No.
supervisors was like telling Amy Heckling, like, "Oh, she mispronounced that. We should tell her." And Amy Heckling was like, "No, do not tell her." It's funnier that she doesn't know.
Yeah, because at that point it's not acting.
But
Yeah,
And
there's
let,
so many
yeah.
like lines that shouldn't even be like quotable that are, but like when she says like as if, it's just amazing. It's hilarious.
I say this because I'm trying to go back into the depth of like my comedy movie viewing experience and all of that. When I think of like other comedy movies, there's the lead that's always great, but then there's a lot of supporting roles that are also great. This movie rests solely on Alicia Silverstone.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
everyone else is good, but Brittany Murphy is great, but like Alicia Silverstone is the driving force. She is in nearly every frame of this movie, and
Yeah.
she has
Yeah,
to deliver it. Like when I say, "Is this the
and
greatest comedic performance of all time?" I genuinely mean it because it's.
yeah,
I think she's so utterly fantastic, taking you to California teenager mid 1990s, completely delivering you there. And it's
Mhm.
so funny and it feels so Amy Heckerling spent a lot of time going to high schools, which is a crazy sentence to say now that they just like let an adult like in a high school now, like because now you couldn't do that because she's like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I went to high schools and I just observed the students and how they talked and how they behaved. And that's like really how she found the influence for these characters and writing dialogue that at the time was hip to our Gen Z viewers. It may not seem hip now, but it was at the time the language that they were using.
As if.
As if just, just like her delivery, like I feel like with Alicia Silverstone, it's like these subtle uses of her face and specifically her lips that she uses in the film to like emphasize because like she's someone that is so concerned about Cher is so concerned about everybody else's image and about her image and what people think of her that she'll never really give a true honest like visual appraisal like but she'll do it with her lips like that's where her disgust her delight her laughter like all comes and it's just this like subtle detail that also comes in with like with the character it lives within Cher that I go, wow, this is like I watched it in theaters and I rewatched it before we covered the podcast and I just blown away by her.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing also that like in terms of comedic performance, like the fact that she has so many voiceovers throughout this movie, and the voiceovers are actually hilarious too, is just also a testament of like how she just delivers those lines real. She says like the stuff of how like me and what's Stacey Dass's character Dion were named after old singers from the '70s that now do infomercials, just like shit like that, where it's just so fucking funny.
It's just
And
like it's
voiceovers can be disastrous in movies, but it works so much in this.
no, it works it works perfectly in this, and it, I was racking my brain for days thinking about who delivers a better performance, and I feel like there's a lot of like scene stealers, like small parts in comedies, but someone anchoring an entire story, especially in a teen comedy. I
Yeah, no, she's definitely like driving the mothership of this whole movie, and like you can tell it in her vernacular, and even to your point with just the obsession over her like lips and how she like says things. There's even like one sequence where she says like like I make sure that like I do X, Y, and Z so that boys pay more attention to my mouth. What was it, Tommy? You'd probably get it.
Oh,
I think it
I
was
forget.
like
We need to pull up the
yeah,
quote. It was
I think it had to be something about lipstick or something.
oh yeah.
it's when Christian comes in, the gay guy who looks like
Yeah.
Harry, that she starts to want to cry on her.
Now let me ask you this, guys, about Christian. Did you think that he was gay before it was announced in the movie, or
So
no?
it's been like at least a decade plus since I've seen this movie for the first
I
time.
know, like,
So
but
my memory's
I'm
not
the one
there.
that's asking
But
for the first time. So
I will say with my two friends I saw it with in theaters that like never saw us before, like almost immediately they're like, "Oh, he's gay."
Yeah, because the first line of dialogue out of his mouth is she knocks the pen over, he goes down to lift it up, and he goes, "I love your roots," which is no straight
yeah,
no straight teenager is noticing some girl's roots. Okay, like
Yeah.
that's just not a straight it's not
yeah,
a straight guy compliment, but it's such like a subtle detail. It's such like a subtle line, especially in the '90s where gay culture is still underground at this point. It's not as accepted
def
in the
hundred
mainstream
percent.
and in the mainstream as it is now, that you wouldn't pick up on it. He just goes, "Nice roots," and you go, "Oh, okay." Like you're just watching the movie, you just go, "Okay." Like you're not even paying attention to it. It's just a sideline of dialogue, but it's telling you everything you need to know about this character. And then
Yeah. See,
you,
that's the thing is that like I was actually kind of caught off guard with it because this entire movie up until that point that he was introduced was about her like Cher trying to like set up her friend with some guy, right? And
Mm.
so I said to myself, all right, like maybe this could be another prospect, and just like the fact that like she was having this internal conflict with herself, and I call it an internal conflict just as like somebody who's like reading into this as sort of like as it being kind of like a novel sort of thing, like this like protagonist who's like out for her friends but also kind of thinking about herself very much selfishly, like you know what I mean, but like she all of a sudden like ends up saying to herself like, oh, maybe there's like a time for me to like find a guy for me, like shit like that. But that's like one of the first and only moments that actually comes up into play in the movie. So it does like kind of speak to her character as much as she is going out of her way to get a guy for, her friend. She is
uh,
still kind of doing it for her personal gain, right?
Mhm.
At the
oh
end of the
yeah,
day.
well,
Yeah.
when we're introduced to Josh, which Paul Rudd's character, which the dad comes in and is like, "Oh, honey, we're bringing Josh is coming over for dinner." It's like, "Ew, he's not your thought. He was just your stepson for a couple of weeks, then you divorced his mom. Why do you still need to do it?" It's like we divorce wives, not children, but they make it very clear right away, being like, "Hey, there's no actual incest going on here. They're not even step brother and sister
They're
anymore.
ex stepbrother.
They're ex-brother and ex-stepbrother and sister. There's no relation here. We want that loud and clear right away here."
I
It was
don't
so
know,
funny because
man. It's
upstairs
still
Steve was texting me when he was watching this movie like, for the first time. He was like live texting me, and he was like, "Is this a porn subplot? Is this porny? Like, what's going on here?"
so like I watched it in parts too. So like, like I've been on vacation, so which I am still currently. I'm recording this in my hotel room, but hotel beach house room. Anyway,
Like I can't let
that's
people
my
get the door. We have a
that's
beach house, okay?
that's my share moment. Okay, guys. Anyway,
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm on vacation.
so I'm texting Tommy this, and I'm like, "What's Paul Rudd's relation to her in this movie?" He's like, "Ex step brother and sister," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I keep watching the movie, and I'm like, "Yeah, I see the brother sister vibe here. He thinks she's kind of annoying. She's still schmoozing up to him for her personal gain. Guy has a car, whatever." And then, gets into the romance part. And I'm like, wait a minute. I literally texted Tommy. I'm like, are you sure? Like, that you didn't just get this fucking wrong? And he's like, no, like, that's how it happened. This was over the course of like 4 days. I wanted to
I
say.
like that
Yeah,
it's
because you're. I didn't realize you watched it over the course of days because like you were texting me like intermittently. I was like,
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
processing this right now?
No, 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 no. So
So
every day that I texted you about this movie, Tommy, if you want to look through like the time history in our text, was a half hour, 45 minute like intermediary period where I kind of watched it in
a
between.
90-minute movie.
this is not a long movie for you to do that.
All right, listen, I have this thing called
Godfather 2.
ADHD.
I
Sir.
do like though that you're on vacation and you're like, sorry parents, I gotta go watch Clueless in my bedroom by myself. I'll be right
Not what
back.
happened.
I'll be
That is
back for
not what
30
happened.
minutes.
That only happened once. All right. And then I watched another half hour while I was on the treadmill while I was at the gym. And I
Oh,
watched
humble
another.
brag. I was working out when I was watching
Hey
Clueless.
guys, hey ladies, just so you know, I was doing that. And then there was another time where I was in bed. I don't know. I watched
Yeah.
it in parts though.
Was
So
that
that
when it got porny?
more or less when the feet scene came in. How you doing? No.
uh
Um,
so this is a part that
All right,
like I
Quentin
guess like
Tarantino, calm
really
down over there.
yeah, this is really part to touch on Paul Rudd. It's crazy that it took him like a decade after this to really hit because I don't think he really became a household name until like we had 40-Year-Old Virgin and Anchorman. Those two.
4-year-old virgin was the first one that I found him in. To
And
be honest
Friends.
with you.
And Friends, and
Friends.
Friends.
He was Phoebe's fiance or whatever. The final season of Friends. I always love that story Paul Rudd tells, like because he's in the final episode of Friends,
I
and
wasn't a Friends guy growing up. I'll be honest with you.
I'm not the biggest
Yeah,
Friends,
neither was I.
but he's the
I didn't know he was on that. No, this is me
It
learning
was
it. So,
obviously like one of the biggest shows of all time. And
yeah.
when they were wrapping up the show, he's there for like the final scenes, like the whole cast is hugging each other and crying, like the main six, and he just goes over, "What a wild ride, huh?" And none
And
of them found it funny. He's like,
yeah.
none of them found it funny.
It's amazing because he is just immediately like his comedic like timing is there from the beginning. Like you could tell from this movie, just like all the things he talks, his banter with Alicia Silverstone is so funny. Like, oh, where are you gonna go out and like to do this and like do that and stuff like that, and just like talking about how like oh like I work for a living unlike you.
No,
Like I actually care about stuff.
notably younger, I do want to say as well, because people talk about Paul Rudd and say, "Oh, he's an ageless wonder. He just doesn't age." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's got great plastic surgeons, but go look at him in Clueless and tell me he doesn't look like a baby there."
Yeah,
How old was he in that movie?
he was
He,
probably like 24 at the time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah. So what's funny about this movie is that the majority of this cast was like teenagers at the time. I think Donald Faison was around 24 too, and Alicia Silverstone was obviously a teenager. But Stacey Dash, Dion, she was 28 at the time of this movie.
really?
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah, which is insane.
That's pretty nuts.
She does look like a little bit older, and Stacey Dash is a great comedic performance in this too. She's a great like little play off of the chemistry of like all the cast in general is just fantastic. But I just love like her banter with Donald Faison in this movie. Anytime Donald Faison pops up in this movie, for those who don't know, Turk from Scrubs, he's like, "What?" He's like, "I told you not to call me woman." Every time I die laughing, and it's just like how he's like shaving his head, and how Dion gets so mad
Oh, at
about it,
the
and
party in the valley scene.
at the party, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, do you not realize what you're doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real." And the whole entire time, it's like Donald Faison does not look any different when he shaved his head. He looks
He
exactly
had
the same.
he had like no hair to begin
Yeah.
with. And I love
Yeah.
Donald Faison with just like the braces on the top of his teeth. Like it's just so
I was just about to say that, Tim. And this is a guy who like only kind of like, extremely casually watched Scrubs. And by that I mean I've seen like 2 episodes. And it's one of those things where I saw him with the top raises, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's the guy from Scrubs. Don't know his name at all. And then I like IMDb'd it, and I'm like, yep, that's the guy from Scrubs. There he is in the flesh.
I
But
like he doesn't look any different now in like the T-Mobile commercials as he does in Clueless, like sans the braces.
It's the benefit of like being bald when you're younger that like you just pretty much look the same for like 30 years.
yeah, hi, I'm your bald
Upstairs
friend
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, as our bald advocate right here.
I'm a bald advocate. I'm a
He's
friend
our
to the
he's our
bald.
he's our bald consigliere. He's our
I'm your Alec Baldwin.
He's our bald
Right.
correspondent.
is he the only bald guy we've had on the podcast, Tommy?
I think
Wow.
so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're the only bald guy. We're pretty much a full head of hair
We,
podcast.
we we usually go for hair. I mean, we're usually,
Wow.
our hair diversity is not really there,
Guys,
unfortunately.
I feel extremely special and matter of fact honored to be
Our
the
token balding.
only representative of the bald community on
We're
this
gonna have to reach
podcast.
out to our HR department and figure out if this is
Yeah,
Hmm.
this is a violation. If we
If
need
this is
more bald
discrimination.
diversity.
I'll come on
Mom,
with a toupee, guys. I don't give a fuck. All right,
Speaking of bald,
like
Wallace Shawn.
oh, love him.
Fantastic. He's just so funny. Just like his reaction shots to
yes.
Cher when Cher says anything stupid is just so fucking funny. And just like
Oh
how he
yeah.
reacts to the whole cast. I mean, there's so many hitters in this movie. I mean, like we could talk about it for days. Like Breckin Meyer. I just love Breckin Meyer in this. And his like little skater bro persona is so funny. And I just love the one part where like Breckin Meyer comes up and talks about how he's like so happy about his tardiness and how he like has to thank the guys at McDonald's for like making those egg McMuffins and always making sure I was late on time and I wouldn't be here. It's just like
You know,
there's so many just great like few
you know
line
what I love
scenes.
too is just that like you're watching it like from a high schooler's perspective. We all had like our high school moments and all that stuff, and then you have Ms. Geist who comes into the picture, and I don't care where you are, what state you live in, and where you go to school, you had a Miss Geist.
Yeah.
And whether or not her name was Ms. Geist is irrelevant. Mine was called Ms. Geyser. You lived in Norwalk, Connecticut. And I'm sorry, Ms. Geyser, if you're listening to this podcast right now, but you are very much a Ms. Geist. And everybody had a Ms. Geist going to their school, much like everybody had, every other teacher that went to that school.
Mr. Hall.
Your Mr. Hall, yeah, much like anybody had a share that went to their school. You know what I mean? They captured that whole like that whole like thing that whole like persona, that whole like high school experience so well in this movie, and it kind of did, not only led to like teen movies later on, but it also kind of like helped evolve it into what it was for paved the way for like Superbad and all that bullshit.
Yeah. And it really captured the era pretty well, I feel like in general. I mean, like even with the slang, just like how they say like so many times. Dan Hedaya, the guy who played Alicia
Like I just
Silverstone's
did.
dad, um,
Yeah.
was horrified by all the language in this movie. And we don't mean cursing. I mean like literally he just hated all the slang. And you can probably feel it in this character performance. Dan Hedaya is just such a good like character actor,
I love him as Mel.
Yeah, he's so fucking funny. Like one of the funniest scenes in this movie is just when Brittany Murphy and Alicia Silverstone are at our house, and Dan Hedaya comes up. He's like, "Get on my chair!" And she just jumps
Hey,
up.
no phones at the dinner, but it's D. Could be something really important. I said no phones at the table. Then his phone rings and he just immediately answers it without even a
Mhm.
thought. Without
Yeah.
even a
Yeah,
thought. But it's very funny because you would. I love one of the subtle things I loved in this movie was the relationship between Mel and his daughter Cher. Like, for a guy who's super busy, there's no mom. They touch on the mom dying. It seems like a very loving relationship. Like he actually cares about her. He cares about her grades. One of my favorite lines in the movie is, "So wait a minute. You see your grade in your debate class went from C plus to A minus. What did you do? Retake the midterm? Turn in a turn in a paper? No, no, Daddy. I just using my powers of persuasion. Oh, honey.
Yes.
Oh, honey. I couldn't be more proud of you. You'd earned that grade yourself."
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you can tell like the love he has for him, and like also that like yes, Cher is spoiled, but like to a certain extent, where like it's the annoyance of dads, where like we all have those like kids in high school that got like a fucking like BMW for their 16th birthday or something like that, and you feel like Cher probably would have been the same. But at the same point where he's like, the first parking ticket is the warning,
yeah,
like right
he
there, and
great
like how he
great life lessons from him. And just a great like straight-laced performer coming in
hmm,
very ditzy, very 90s, very young performances, like having somebody elder who's grounded versus when you think of Wallace Shawn and Twin Kaplan as Miss Geist and Mr. Hall, they're still playing like Miss Geist is played very comedically. Hall is played very comedically. The dad isn't. He's the only he's only the only straight man in this entire movie.
hmm.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny for his New York accent alone, even though they were living in California. Same with you know, any of their fucking accents. What's her name?
Hmm.
Fucking Brittany Murphy had the New York accent. I know she was a new school, but they never really specified that she was from New York apart from the accent.
I
Apparently in Emma, like her character surrogate, like was known as like a poor character, like from a poor social status. And I like that the movie doesn't really touch upon that of like the social economic status, but more so just like she's from New York, so she's different.
and just
That's all
Yeah,
you need.
right.
she's not it's funny that she's like not as cool in Cher and Dion's eyes, but then immediately like the first conversation, it's like, oh, I really need a herbal refreshment. Oh, well, we don't have any tea, but we have Coke. You have Coke out here? Like, and
Yeah.
it's one of those great little
Yeah.
jokes where it's like they do not know what they're talking
Mm.
about with each other. One is talking about the drug, one is talking about the soda. And it's
Yeah.
just like these little jokes that play off each other. Brittany
And
Mur
I
Murphy should touch on her breakout performance here.
mm,
Um, Very tragic ending to her life, cut very short at 32. But she was 16 when they filmed this. She was
yeah,
Wow,
so much so
really?
she had to have like her parent or like a surrogate on set at all times. So she was just like really fantastic in this movie. And I like her like little subtle changes when she becomes like a little more popular, and how like happens when like she's like hanging on the side of the mall and like gets like pushed over almost and everything like that. I think that she gives a really fun comedic performance. The New York accent is like can't be enough, I feel like, where it doesn't like set over the top. Um, and I think that like her chemistry, and I just love how throughout the movie she's just like wanting to be with Breckenmeyer, but Breckenmeyer like is just like not approved by Cher. She just
Yeah,
keeps on pushing him
and
away.
Yeah.
then and then when she has the autonomy to make her own decisions right after she gets hung over the balcony in the in the cafeteria or in the mall, he comes over, he's like, "Aren't you stoners supposed to be over there in the grassy knoll?" And it's like a very subtle performance for Breckenmeyer there, but he's like hurt. And then that's when he goes into the 12 steps program when Cher is trying to benefit more people, do more for others and not just for herself.
Yeah.
He comes over to apologize for the red satin shoes at the party and talks
Hmm.
about being in the 12 steps and getting himself fixed up. Like it's that moment that causes that change in that character.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where like, you see the internal growth in the protagonist, but then you also see it in them. Like, at the same time, that's when you knew it was going to work immediately. Like, this is the moment when it's supposed to work. The entire time you're sitting there and you're watching her go like, all right, he obviously should be with this guy.
Yeah.
But it's like, when is that moment going to happen? And that is that moment right there.
That is that moment right there. Are there any other big scenes or moments that we haven't touched on here?
I mean, I do like the party scene in general. It's just so much fun, and like how it cuts from like all of them doing like the Coolio song and trying to do the rollin', 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 which reminds me of the time, Timmy, where like you were, if you mentioned this on the pod, I don't know if you care because your mom listens. We were teenagers, we were really high and in a car, and you kept it going like this when we were like listening to like a Skrillex song. To a point that I still reference that to this day. Whenever like I hear a song in the car, I always go like this.
With
It's
a
just the
heavy
Coolio
bass.
thing.
I
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. I
forgotten
remember.
that.
I remember that we call ourselves the Wolf Pack because we got really high in a car one day. And then we're driving around with like us and like four other random guys. And then you were so high out of your mind that you kept on going like this over and over and over again.
I was having a good
Sick,
time. I was
sick
having
invite, guys.
I was having a good time.
Yeah,
What else to tell
exactly.
you?
But just the little gags that you have in the background of that pool scene, and just shows like Emmy Heckling's a great direction of just like the one guy who throws up in the pool at one point, and
No,
people
yeah,
like
when
back
she's
away,
walking
and
out
they're
of
like,
the
oh, yeah, and then how it cuts immediately to like how what's the character's name that she keeps on trying to get
Elton.
Brittany Murphy with Elton. And she keeps on trying to get Elton in the car, Brittany Murphy, and Elton's like, no, how do you get in the car with me? How do you get in the car with me? It doesn't make sense. You go there. And Elton's like a really creep. It's like almost like a master class is showing people like, here's how you get rid of a creep. And
Yeah,
then when she gets mugged in a way, it's just so funny because her main concern isn't like her safety, more so I don't want to get my dress like stained. And just the like the vapidness right there, and like, oh, this is like a nice dress. Like, oh my god, I don't want to get on the ground. And her like little like screaming, like, oh, it's just so fucking funny. Like you said, Alicia Silverstone, just comedic powerhouse in this movie. um,
I think sh one scene we didn't touch on is when she goes out with Christian to the ska concert. Her coming down the stairs in the dress, and Paul Rudd's look at her, where you're just like, oh, he's now attracted to her, very
yeah,
attracted to her. He's
I
he no longer finds her annoying.
I
I
do like
actually
that
missed
whole.
that.
Yeah, it was good, but I do like in general how that scene plays out and Amy Heckling's like direction and cinematography through it, where like we had the Mighty Mighty Bosstones playing that song, like "Where'd You Go," and how it just
Mm.
zooms out from like them into the whole entire dance. It feels so 90s that they're at a school dance and ska is playing. Steve, right there, I was like, again, this is your movie,
No,
but
like I really just wish for the day where I can be like, hey, to a nice, attractive girl, I say, hey, you want to go to a ska show uptown?
And
I
yeah,
know a place, and I'll take her there, and
and,
she's just smitten.
and any girl from
Well,
2025 is like, what's ska?
yeah,
yeah, exactly. And then I'll just be like, follow me, ladies. I'll put my arm out and I go up, and then we skank to the venue. We
yeah.
don't even drive. We skanked the entire way there. She's like, can we stop? I'm like, no. Wait, this is how we get to Scotch
This
shows.
is the ska life.
And then
Yep.
and then Cher's best. The last thing I want to touch is Cher's best as if, because that's been her tagline the whole movie is as
Oh,
if at the end, right after she
her best
the
as
kiss
if.
with Josh, right at the
Yeah,
end, and and you know what that means, and it cuts to a wedding, and you just go, huh? As
yeah,
if
That is.
yeah.
we're
That's
in
great.
high school,
I
and
know. Yeah.
and
Just
it,
so
for Mr. Hall and Miss Geist, just a great last little joke there.
Well, you
yeah,
want to know something too? Is that like this is one of those movies that like when I knew I was watching it for the podcast, I started like kind of texting a lot of like my girlfriends that like, hey, like you've seen this movie, right? And they're like, of course, like this is like they're Mean Girls, essentially they grew up on
Yeah.
this,
yeah,
and every single one as I'm watching more and more of this movie, and just suddenly I like throw like subtle jabs in there. I'm like, you're totally Cher, right? And they're like, "Oh, stop!" And I'm like, the whole like, but daddy, like bullshit
yeah,
like that, and just like sort of like little mannerisms in there, as dated as they are, you still got to see them in a lot of your friends.
yeah.
Like,
Immediately.
it's so funny that everybody like, and it's great that like even like when I text them, they're just like, "Have you seen this movie?" And they're like, "Duh!" Like literally in
As
her
if.
fucking voice,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, "How is this brand new to me? Holy shit!" But
Yeah. So I know we
oh,
talked about it earlier before with my playlist and everything, but just to highlight the soundtrack specifically for this movie and just how this movie opens up with Kids in America on the cover of it. Amy Heckerling, like when she made Fast Times at Ridgemont High, she was closer to the age of the high schoolers, so she knew the music at the time. But I feel like with this movie, she more so like kind of listened to the kids or like had covers of songs from her like generation and stuff like that. But like the
mm,
fact Kids in America, that's such a great song. We have Counting Crows in this. We have like BC Boys, Boston's like we talked about it a little bit of time. The Coolio song, even like Supergrass, like We Are Young, We Are That, and even the Supermodel Jules Soulby song is so much fun and just like it just brings such a bubbly energy to this movie. This makes this really rewatchable.
Extremely, extremely rewatchable.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right. Who is the star of the show? Who gave the best performance? I think we again kind of in this comedic realm, it's tough to not talk about the performers, which we kind of talked about the whole time. Any thoughts that might differ from what I said? Because I think I made it pretty clear who would be winning this category for me.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
all did. It's pretty much just Alicia just stealing the show here, right?
Yeah, it's shocking that Alicia Silverstone did not have a bigger career, but unfortunately, 2 years later, she was in a movie called Batman and Robin
That
as
like
Batgirl.
tanked your movie career.
That just like ruined her career. George Clooney was able to skate out of it because he had ER still, and he had Dust Till Dawn, all these other movies. But like Alicia Silverstone, her career never recovered from
Damn,
fucking Batman and Robin.
from
So it's just like,
Batgirl nipple suit, you know.
yeah, literally, because like,
And you want to know something? That nipple suit only worked on her because I looked at that nipple suit on George Clooney. Didn't work. Didn't
yeah,
work for me. Well, it was a little too much. But yeah, no. Regardless, she was definitely the one that stole the show here. Not to mention, you got like a decent '90s cast here. Like set the stage for a lot of like good actors. Like Brittany Murphy. Obviously, she had that fucking awesome breakout role in 8 Mile, which can't go fucking unnoticed at all. Paul Rudd, everybody, he's fucking Ant-Man now for all you Gen Zers. But before that, he was a lot of other things. Like,
mm,
Donald Sutherland getting on Scrubs.
Mm.
Stacey
well,
Wallace Shawn. Like there's a lot of great comedic performance in here, but this movie centers around Cher's character, and I feel like Alicia Silverstone is the central figure that just holds this movie together, and I genuinely think one of the greatest comedic performances of all time.
easily.
100%.
And this movie,
100%.
as much as Amy Heckerling wanted to start this as a TV show, this actually ended up being a TV show afterwards, which ended up like
Can we talk
retaining
about
about.
that for a minute? Because I don't know anything about that, and you
Yeah,
brought it
yeah.
up a
So
couple of times. Like, yeah.
yeah, so this ended up being a TV show about like a year later. So it was a 3 season show, ran for 62 episodes, and it was the rare like movie to TV show adaptation that retained the majority of the cast. But the big difference was Alicia Silverstone was not
Mm.
Cher. So they still had Stacey Dash, they still had Don Faison, they still had,
So
Lisa
wait, they
Donovan.
recast Cher, but they kept the character in the show.
Yeah, it was basically the same cast overall, except no Alicia Silverstone. They had Twin
Whoa.
Clapham as Miss Guys. They still had Wallace Shawn pop up in the first season a lot. Obviously, Paul Rudd wasn't either too. But just the fact that you didn't have Alicia Silverstone, I just ruined any chance of me wanting to check out this TV show because I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
this sounds cool.
Yeah. Why would they even try at that point?
it's a
Especially
real.
without her and Paul Rudd, right?
Yeah,
And
because
no, and
this
no Brittany Murphy either.
and no Brittany Murphy. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
okay.
this is like an ABC show at first, and then ended up moving to UPN for its last 2 seasons. And I was trying to like find a way to like look this up, but you can't find it on streaming whatsoever. But I think it's one of those TV shows that just got lost to time because again, it's like when you're watching Clueless, it almost feels like why do I want to watch the B movie version of this? Where like, yeah, sure, I have Stacey Dash and Donald Faison still, but like I don't have Breckenmeyer, I don't have Paul Rudd really, I don't have Brittany Murphy, and they showed up on like guest star appearances, but they weren't part of the cast, and just I can't imagine the person who played Cher in the TV show. Her name was Rachel Blanchard, and I don't know a single thing she's been in. I can't imagine she's anything good to Alicia Silverstone. You can't
Well,
compare.
no, absolutely not. How could you compare it to perfection? You just cannot do it.
Yeah.
So,
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
yes. Yes.
Would this work
That's
as a
what
live
next.
adaptation? Steve, you seem to have an answer for me.
Yes. I say
Yeah.
this about every movie. It would be funny as a Muppet adaptation every time.
Yeah,
Every
especially
time.
this one is just such a fun, like comedic energy and so goofy and zany. Like I could
Yeah.
easily see it like work. You keep Alicia Silverstone as the human.
No,
Who's
this
Cher?
one- no,
Which Muppet is Cher? Is that
Piggy's
Miss
Cher.
Piggy?
Piggy's Cher. Come on.
Piggy is
Oh
Cher.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Piggy is Cher.
Janice
Piggy is
is
Cher. Kermit's Paul Rudd.
Janice is Ty.
Is Dan Hedaya the one you keep?
Yes, you just keep Dan Hedaya. You always just keep the straight man. If you can
Yeah.
those comedic roles. Just imagine, yes, daughter, like coming in, like waddling over.
Yeah.
License ticket. Just him yelling at a puppet. That'd be very funny.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see it. All right, guys. Review time. Give me your score out of 5. Tommy, why don't you kick us off?
All right, so this is a very highly rewatchable movie. Really fun. There's not really much plot, as like, we pretty much discussed, as you could tell. But overall, great comedic performances, just like an all-star '90s teen movie cast. I'll go 4 out of 5. Really enjoyable, really rewatchable, fantastic soundtrack, and it's just a movie that you just love to watch.
Steve?
You just gave this a 5 out of 5, a absolutely perfect rating, Tommy.
No, give it 4 out of 5.
Oh, okay, 4 out of 5. That's fine. I thought you said 5 out of 5. I'm like, I'm gonna give this 5, and I'm like, Tommy, you've never given a 5. You're giving this one a 5. 4 out of 5. I'm in a complete agreement with Tommy right here. Very watchable movie. You do want to see a movie that paved the way for all teen comedies up and after that point, you start here. This is the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, well said. 4 out of 5. I'm in a total agreement here with everyone. Alicia Silverstone puts this movie on her shoulders. Great direction, great supporting cast as well. Really funny movie, really charming. Still holds up to this day. Highly, highly rewatchable. Upstairs, Steve. Thanks to you for having never seen this movie. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me, even though I haven't seen this movie. And I really thought that was a sacrilege for this podcast. I thought at least one of the two original creators had to have not seen the movie.
We just bend the rules whenever we want to.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really like following the rules or like cares. Are gonna be a stickler to us. Like, excuse me, both Tim and Tommy have seen this movie. You can't cover this. What are you doing?
I'm just making sure I don't want to compromise your guys' integrity, but it's very much an honor. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I enjoy being on this podcast a lot. Anytime you guys invite me, regardless of the movie. Y'all can follow me on Instagram if you really want to. That's big underscore mooch. That would be MOOCH821 if you really want to. Now, if you really, really want to, you can follow me on Snapchat. That's SMUCC6, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely hasn't changed. So you can just re-listen to all the other podcasts I've been on. And better yet, if you're a real big fan of me, Upstairs Steve, you know what you got to do? You just got to go into that search bar when you follow this page, because I know that you guys love this page. You love to like watch the Haven't Seen It podcast. So all you got to do is you go into the search bar, you just type in Upstairs Steve. You'll get every single episode I've been on. I believe this is like the 9th episode that I've been on, something like that.
You've been on quite a few.
I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
on quite a few.
You're like our de facto third chair if we had a third chair.
Thank you.
So,
I really hope I haven't overstayed my welcome. But
Almost. Still a couple more still to go.
I love
Tommy,
it.
any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
as if. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Upstairs Steve really liked that one.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media. That's at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I post on Threads occasionally. And also we're on Blue Sky. That's podseenit.bluesky.social. And leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we're covering one of Timmy's favorite directors, an all-timer director, Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. I've never seen it before.
Neither have
Can't
I.
wait to check
I'm
it
very
out.
excited to do a Kubrick.
Never even heard of it before.
Yeah. So, and also check out the Cher Horowitz Summer Jams
Shared
playlist.
Upstairs Summer Drams will be shared in the link below. Thank you
It's
guys
a
all
good
so much
playlist.
for listening. We will see you next time.